What's up, YouTube? My name is Arthur Robinson Jr. I am the creator and host of PowerfulInterviews.com and I'm a partner of NationalDiversified.com. I want to welcome each and every one of you to this phenomenal video. In this interview, you're going to experience life-changing information that you will not find anywhere else. I have secured an incredible interview with a great friend of mine, successful businessman, the multi-millionaire. His name is Roland Frasier. Roland Frasier is a consultant of manufacturing companies that ranges from $3 million in sales all the way up to $337 million in sales. Roland Frasier is the founder of digitalmarketer.com, and he is a businessman that travels all over the world. In this interview, Roland Frasier, he breaks down layman's terms about direct response marketing. Also in this interview, Roland Frasier, he breaks down layman's terms about how he creates media properties for his clients, and he also breaks down layman's terms of how you can generate millions of dollars online as well as offline, and much, much more. So remember, this wisdom is not BS information. The right information will change your current situation. Wealthy people, they take advice from other wealthy people, and unfortunately, broke people, they take advice from broke people. So right about now, go get your pen and your pad, sit back and relax, and write down some notes. In this interview that I'm going to reveal to each and every one of you with my great friend, successful businessman. He is a multi-millionaire. His name is Roland Frasier. This interview, it will change your life. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn your notifications on. That way you be well informed when I publish more successful audio interviews. So check it out. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome the one, the only, the powerful Roland Frasier to the show.
Thanks, Arthur. I appreciate that. Thank you for having me.
I'd like to thank you, Roland, for taking time out of your busy schedule to educate me and the listeners worldwide about the power of online marketing and about mergers and acquisitions. I gladly appreciate it.
It is my pleasure to be here. Happy to share. I think the most important thing that anyone who has any level of success can do is to give back and share with others, and that cycle and circle is very, very important.
To everyone that's listening, I highly recommend go and get your pen and your pad right now. My great friend Roland Frasier is going to break down layman's terms about the power of online marketing, and we're going to talk about mergers and acquisitions. Is that correct, Roland?
Whatever you like.
Now, what I'd like to know, and can you explain to the listeners in layman's terms, who is the phenomenal Roland Frasier? How long you been in your powerful industry, and what is your expertise?
Well, gosh, I've been in. If you're looking at online marketing, really since the beginning of the modern internet. So I back in the 90s. Is when I first got in. So if you remember way back to when CompuServe existed, you kind of have to be an older person to know about CompuServe and Delphi and even America Online these days. But back in those days, I did a deal with CompuServe and put together a channel with several health and beauty influencers at the time, and that led me into a relationship with America Online. I did a channel with America Online in motivational personal development space. I started out, I owned a couple of online casinos. I had makeabet.com and betonit.com. Went into document creation long before the biz filings or LegalZoom or any of those with a company called Doc Factory. And so I've been doing it for a long, long time. That was kind of the getting into it phase. It's been fun to watch how much easier it has gotten over the years. You know, back in those days, you had to hire like hardcore coders, and I can program in Cold Fusion and HTML and CSS and those things, but I mean, you had to have like C++ kind of programmers back then to create sites, and it's gotten so much easier now. I remember, like, just to get a site up to test to see if it was going to do anything used to cost me about $50,000.
Wow.
And now I can do it myself in 15 minutes with like ClickFunnels or lead pages or something like that. So it's just an amazing platform that has really become democratized so that everyone can do it. And I think that's just so cool. I mean, anyone can take an hour to learn how to run, to build a funnel in ClickFunnels or lead pages or Instapage or any of those building services, 10-minute funnels, I guess that's another one. So that's been really, really cool. And for me, it's just I am always interested in technology and the evolution of marketing channels. I've been in marketing since I was about 16 years old, and I'm always looking at the new channels. So I've done direct mail, infomercials, catalogs, spots on television, radio, and then evolved into internet and online stuff with those channels as they've come along from the early days of Google AdWords and into Facebook and now some of the native advertising things that are out there. So it's been a fun journey, and it's always changing, always new.
Now, you specialize in ClickFunnels. I know that Russell Brunson, basically, that's what he specializes in as well.
Well, Russell founded ClickFunnels. I think it's a great platform. I don't really specialize in ClickFunnels as much as in marketing strategy.
Wow. So basically, your website is your sales page, and Google Analytics, that can be your marketing?
Well, I would say that your web page is more than anything a brochure or information about your company, and then the thing that sells product or services is usually not your main web page, but would be a separate landing page, and then your marketing is the advertising and public relations and content that is created to drive traffic to your landing page. That's kind of how I look at it. Lots of people look at it differently. And it depends. Obviously, if you're Amazon, then your web page is your sales page. But for most of the businesses that I own and that I work with, the web page isn't the primary selling page. There are platforms, like you would have a web page for your product that's or services or your company, but then you would have a store that would be an e-commerce platform, maybe on Shopify, or you would have landing pages that you built in ClickFunnels or lead pages or something like that, and then you have a cart that's attached to that through Infusionsoft or Triangle or Limelight or something like that then connects all that stuff together. I hope that's not too much like tech stuff.
No, this is an incredible interview, and I appreciate you coming on my show today, Roland. Can you explain to the listeners, should entrepreneurs and business professionals focus on creating a power authority website?
It's a great question, and I think the answer depends on what you're trying to do. So, and also depends on your resources, because it is a big commitment in time and effort and money to create an authority website, and you may or may not want or need one. Our model at Digital Marketer and at Native Commerce is to create media properties, so those would be considered authority sites, and use those sites to aggregate the attention of people around specific interests. So we own sewing.com for people that are interested in sewing, and we own Survival Life for people that are interested in kind of survival and extreme camping, and DIY projects and makeup tutorials for people that are interested in those things. So we have about 60 different authority properties, including Digital Marketer for people that are interested in digital marketing, right? And we spend a lot of time and money and have a lot of staff that we dedicate to building those guides at all simply by selling on Amazon.com and Walmart.com and marketplaces, or simply driving ads, selling through a platform like ClickBank through an affiliate model, or something like that. So it's kind of just a choice. Like it is definitely a way to go. You just have to understand that if you're truly going to build an authority site, you're going to have to, you're either going to do a lot of work yourself, or you're going to have to hire an editor and build content both internally and through external people that your editor would go out and find. And that's not really for everybody. I wouldn't, if it's me starting out now, I would not start with that. I'd probably start with just straight buying ads to a funnel, and I'd just have kind of a brochure website, and I'd either do that, or I would simply advertise. I'd simply put a product up on Amazon and sell it there.
Wow. Now
Does that answer your question?
Oh, yes, it did.
Okay.
Now, you said buying ads. Can you explain to the listeners, what is your thoughts on paid media versus organic media?
I think paid media is so much easier and so much more certain if I had to choose only one. They're all channels, right? So the mega channels are organic traffic and paid traffic. And then there are lots of little sub-channels underneath that. So organic traffic, though, especially now, if you're doing white hat, not trying to game the system, which is becoming increasingly hard to game, and you're really just going for an SEO play. Organic traffic is generally considered earned media, meaning something that comes through doing interviews like I'm doing with you right now, or having articles written in magazines or on other websites, or it's SEO, which is now basically content marketing is SEO, right? There's still lots of technical SEO that is important around content, but you have to have content to work with to get started. So from paid media standpoint, that's just any ad that you buy. So you really want to think about what kinds of paid media might be easy to go into, and we've found that the easiest of all right now seems to be Facebook. So simply buying ads on Facebook. So how would somebody go about that? They would sign up for a Facebook business account and really just start placing ads. That's the nice thing about it. It's a very easy platform to work with. It's not nearly as complicated as AdWords, which is Google's platform, although it is not as robust. But it's really getting, especially with the targeting, the ability to target audiences and really drill down to what you want. It's definitely an easier platform, I think, than any of the other options.
Wow. Now, you have basically dominated the sales industry, and you took, sales from $3 million to $337 million, and that's absolutely phenomenal. And you did it on 6 continents. Can you explain to the listeners, when you are scaling your company, what is the difference between scaling your company versus the growth of your company?
Sure, absolutely. Growing the company is just getting more customers. Getting more customers to buy more frequently, or getting more customers to buy in larger transactions. And my buddy Jay Abraham, who you also know, has really done a good job of explaining that. I think his book, Getting All You Can Out of What You've Got, really delves into that in a great way. And So that's really growth, is like, how do I get more income and turn that into more profits? Scaling, which is the thing that it's interesting. It's the thing that I think gets overlooked the most. That people think scaling means growing, but really scaling is getting the systems and the people and the funding to support the growth of the company. So as you get more customers, you can have growth and you can fail to scale, and your company will fall apart, and your customers will be unhappy because they're not being served, because the systems and the people and the money to do what you need to do isn't there. But you can have scale without growth, and that's a great way to go bankrupt too, because if you have scale without growth, then you end up with what they call a runway. And the runway is how long you can go with your negative burn on income before you run out of the money that you've got, right? So it's a balance of business, hopefully more customers.
Wow. So sales is the avenue to more revenue?
Sales is the avenue to more revenue, and sales is an avenue to providing scale through capital, scale through income without funding. So if you're really, really smart and really, really lucky, then you can scale a company and grow a company at the same time without having to take external funding. So we haven't taken external funding, for example, in digital marketer or native commerce, because we have done a good job of balancing those things and growing those companies to tens of millions of dollars in sales. But that's hard. And even the people, we get approached by private equity funds and capital funds, growth capital funds now pretty frequently. And they're all like, well, how have you not taken capital so far? It's like, well, we've made the decision that we want to balance our growth and our scale without the need to have that external funding, because we want to get a higher valuation before we give up a piece of the equity in our company. And we know we can do that, and we're willing to wait a little bit longer to be able to grow to a bigger place before we get that. Does that make sense?
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Now, you mentioned that phenomenal word, capital. Now, the word capital comes from the Latin root word called capitas. Capitas means knowledge in the head. It doesn't mean money. So do people have to have the right knowledge and the right systems to take their businesses to the next level?
Yes and no. Again, it's really fun. I actually love these questions because the answers depend on so many things, right? So you need to know what you want before you start doing anything, right? Because if you don't know what you want, then you're just gonna kind of, go in all directions. So that knowledge in the head is very important to picking a direction. Then when you've got that, the cool thing is that the knowledge and the systems for growth can be created internally, or they can be created externally. And you can do all that yourself, or you can have your team do it, or you can go with other systems that already exist and other knowledge that already exists. So, for example, on the things that you are not an expert at, on the things that, like in our companies, that we're not experts at, we bring in the knowledge and the systems through third parties. So we bring in the knowledge through consultants, through masterminds and mentorships that we have with other folks, through employees that we hire that already have a skill set and a knowledge set. Now, what's cool is that they typically come with systems, right? So you can, through consultants or employees who've worked other places or contractors, you can get systems and knowledge that you don't have really, really quickly, which allows you to grow and scale at a much faster clip. So I really like that question, because the answer is yes, you do need that. And the methodology for doing it, if you're going for me, I'm all about leverage, right? So I'd say if you had to pick any single thing that I focus on. It's always, where's the leverage in the business? And one of the fastest ways to get leverage in terms of knowledge and systems is to find other people that have done what you're trying to do before and bring those people on as part of the company. If you can't afford to hire them as employees or consultants or contractors, then you partner with them, right? There's all kinds of ways to do that. So the other way would be that you can, if you have the ability to acquire a company that already has the people or systems that you're looking for, then you simply acquire that company and you integrate it into the company that you've got, and those systems and that knowledge base becomes yours.
You are experiencing a life-changing, powerful interview, and you are hearing it first from Arthur Robinson Jr.'s PowerfulInterviews.com.
Now, I always tell my listeners you have to pursue your potential, and once you tap into your infinite potential, your passion you can turn that passion into phenomenal profits. Can you explain to the listeners, Roland, what is the best advice that you have ever received?
The best advice that I have ever received is that it is automated if you don't have to do it. So that means that even things that, I guess, number one, automate everything that you can, because otherwise you will just work yourself silly. And then the corollary to that is that even if you don't see that automation exists in terms of a software solution or a system, it can be done manually. So before certain things existed in terms of fulfillment automation or email automation, which do exist now in the form of software, we simply hired people to do those things. And because we work both domestically and internationally, we're able to arbitrage the salary rate, the compensation rate for labor, and effectively get automation through brute labor force, if you will, through simply the ability to hire lots of people and throw lots of people at it for not a lot of money. And that's been a big advantage in a lot of the businesses that I've been involved with.
Now, you have invested in phenomenal companies. Can you explain to the listeners, when you are in the process of buying a company, do you buy a profitable company on the EBITDA system for scalability and high growth mode?
I buy it if I'm acquiring a company. My number one criteria is that I like the people who are at the company, and that comes from practicing law, because what I found through 13 years of law practice is people don't sue people they like. So you start out with, don't ever do business with anybody you don't like, because it's ultimately not a good thing, and it's very likely that you may end up in litigation, which I definitely do not like or ever want to have to be involved in again, right? So that's the first step. And then the second step is I'm looking for a business that I can add value to. I'm looking for a business that's already profitable, because if it's not already profitable, then it doesn't have any money on its own to invest in the things that can grow it, right? It can't really expand if it's in turnaround mode or if it has to be fixed. So I don't like to buy companies that I'm going to fix. I also don't like to invest in startups, because I'm looking for companies that have momentum, because, again, my superpower is leverage, right? So part of leverage is adding additional channels, adding additional strategic relationships, looking at what can I do to expand the company? Can I go into international markets? Can I cut deals with other people who already have the customers that I've got? Can I go and find a strategic partnership where the company that I'm involved with can provide value to some significantly larger company that already has something that would be of value to us, or that moves us towards our goal, or that might even be a potential acquisition partner in the future, because I definitely want to get the notice of the people that I'm looking to exit through as soon as I can in a positive way. So if I'm looking to be bought by Walmart, then I want to sell on Walmart.com and have several bestsellers before I approach them about, or maybe even, to get them to approach me about buying the company that I'm involved with. So it's important that I like the people. It's important that the company is profitable, because if it's not profitable, it can't pay me back and it can't expand. And then I'm looking for companies that have not tapped the market out, that haven't already done all the things that are in my, quote unquote bag of tricks. I'm looking for the ability to add the value and the superpower that I can bring to that company. And if I can't add that value, then it doesn't make sense to acquire it, because I don't know where it's going to grow to.
Wow. So when you are in the process of buying a company, and when you are evaluating that company, and before you send the letter of intent to the seller to buy the company, you basically look into buy the book of business for that company?
Yeah, I look into the book of business, who are the customers of the company, where are they advertising currently, what channels are they in, and how deep are they in each of those channels? What's their product mix look like? How broad is their product mix? What's their customer list look like? How well do they do at communicating with their customers? There's a company that I'm looking at right now. It's been around for several years, multi-million dollars in sales, but it's only advertised in one medium. They've only advertised in print media, right?
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, I'm looking at that and saying, well, that's great, because that means that the whole digital side of things is still available. Also, they've built a really good brand through that media, and they've got hundreds of thousands of customers, but they've never communicated with those customers ever. So there's the opportunity to digitize that list of customers and clean it up and then market to them. They've never done upsells or downsells. So cross-marketing within that list, I definitely have the ability to do, right? They've never gone after their customers in any means other than print. So I can identify people who are likely to be customers for that company digitally and advertise for them on Facebook and, and all the other places, AdWords for traffic. And and they've never done wholesale. So I can reach out to all of the wholesalers, a few hundred of whom have already sent inquiries to the company about being able to be a wholesaler for them, but the company decided that it would be potentially too expensive to bring on a couple more people to deal, to handle the customer service for the wholesale side. So there's like so many avenues that company can expand, that it definitely is an interesting company to me, right? I can add a lot of value. So I'm going to look at all of that stuff before I send over a letter of intent. Absolutely. I'm also, in that case, the company had a deck. So they had already prepared through an investment banker the numbers. So I want to look at the balance sheet and the income statement. I want to look at the customer list. I want to look at the ads to be sure that the ads don't have anything that I would be concerned about from a legal standpoint. I want to look at the ad history to see how are things performing. Are they stable? Are they declining? Are they increasing? I want to look at the staff and know how many people are involved. I want to look at the key suppliers and know, can the supply chain handle an increase in sales if I need to do that, and what are the terms that they would be willing to give me? What are the terms that they've been working on in the past? Are they on a COD basis, or are they on some sort of credit? Same thing with the media. I want to know, are they on a 30-day or 60-day payment plan on the media, or do they have to buy that in advance? So all of that stuff comes in the due diligence before an LOI goes out. So the process for me would be, company comes to me, or I find a company or get introduced to them, have an initial conversation with them to be sure that I like the people that I'm dealing with. That's, again, critical to me. Then step 2 is NDA, non-disclosure agreement, which I won't sign until I've already talked with them and got a lot of basic information, because I don't sign NDAs unless I'm to the point of they're going to give me financial statements, right? That's I don't tell me the secrets if you can't talk to me before that, because I don't like to sign NDAs generally So I'm only going to sign them after I'm pretty sure I'm interested in the deal, and I'm down to the point of looking at things like customer and vendor lists and financial statements. Then I'm going to go through all of those financial statements and customer lists and all that stuff, and I'm going to have a detailed conversation with the seller to find out my answers to all my questions about those things. And then I'm going to get to a letter of intent or a non-binding term sheet, right? So all of that information has to be known before I have enough information to get to the point of issuing an LOI.
Wow. So basically, you don't sign non-disclosure agreements until you know for sure that you're interested in the company. And when you sign the NDAs, that's just basically confidentiality documents between you and the seller.
Correct. Yeah. And the reason is like, it shouldn't be like, if let's say you own a company, right, and I'm interested in buying your company, or you're interested in selling it to me, and more often it's that you're interested in selling it to me, right? So I'm getting people that come to me pretty regularly. I've got good deal flow because they know that I do this. So now I'm going to start asking a question, and I'm like, so what is it you do? And you're going to say, well, before we do anything, you need to sign an NDA. I'm going to say, no, I'm not going to do that because I don't know that I have any interest in your company. If you can't tell me about your company generally, what does it do, what are its sales, what kind of profits is it making, without specifics of line item things that I might see in a financial statement, then I'm just not going to talk to you about it, because to me, I don't even know if it's worth my time. And before I get to the point where I'm going to go through all the financial statements and do all that stuff that I was mentioning earlier, I need to know generally that I might be interested. So I think that a lot of people make a mistake in throwing NDAs out before you even know if you're interested. And I think a lot of people make a mistake of signing NDAs before they know if they're interested. So that's just my policy, and different people do it differently. I just have found in my experience, the fewer NDAs you sign, the better, and you really shouldn't sign them until you're down to the details.
Wow. Now, Roland, you are dropping some underground information to me and the listeners, and I really do appreciate it. Now, let's talk about delegation. And earlier you mentioned about you got to hire the right people. Now, I know the minimum wage of a millionaire is around $524 an hour. So I always tell my listeners, what can you delegate for $524 an hour? Or you can go way beyond that. What can you delegate that's within your current budget? How important it is for entrepreneurs and business leaders to delegate tasks out that they're not currently good at, so they could just focus on increasing their revenues in their businesses.
I think it's critical. I think there's very few things that are more important, because if you're not able to focus on the thing that is your superpower or your greatest skill or your greatest value add, then you're just wasting money. So whatever that thing that you do that is your greatest value add is worth to the company, that is the price that you're paying for everything that you're doing that isn't that thing, right? So let's say that for me, it's forming strategic relationships and finding leverage points, and that typically I can double the sales of a business that is doing under $50 million a year through one good strategic relationship. So if I'm spending time writing checks out of the checkbook of the company, or talking to an employee about paid time off, or reordering supplies, or designing a logo, then that's costing my company somewhere around the ability to double its sales, because that's what I'm always trying to do. So it's really an inexcusable, irresponsible thing for me to do as a business owner, to focus on or spend my time on any of this stuff that isn't the thing that I'm best at. So that that to me is, then it comes down to what can you afford to do. But for me, on a personal level and a business level, on a personal level, I do not pay any of my personal bills. I have somebody that does that. I don't do any yard work because I have somebody that does that. I don't do anything around my house. I don't change the light bulb. I don't do nothing, right? And the same thing in the business. I just think that it's a big mistake that a lot of people make. So you've got to be able to delegate that stuff. And in the business, it's you need to get a bookkeeper, because if you're writing your checks and trying to do your financial statements yourself, you're wasting your time if you're not doing the thing that rings the cash register. And we see this over and over and over in startups when friends or family are starting a business. They spend all their time doing things that are not revenue generating. So they've got a beautiful logo that needs to be designed, and then they get a beautiful office space, and it's got great flowers and pretty plants and nice furniture, and they've got great business cards and all this other stuff and a website. And it's like, okay, well, what are you doing to make money? And that's kind of common, right? It's amazing how few people do the things they need to do to actually make money, and they're not focused on that. So to me, there's just nothing more important. If you spend all your time doing those things, you're going to go bankrupt. You're going to go broke quicker than anybody else. And if your company's doing fine and you're spending the time on those things, then you're cheating yourself out of the growth and scale that you deserve.
Wow. So the right information converts into life-changing transformation?
Absolutely.
You are experiencing a life-changing, powerful interview, and you are hearing it first from Arthur Robinson Jr.'s PowerfulInterviews.com.
You speak all over the world, and when you speak, Roland, people listen. Now, I know that the speaking industry is a $780 billion industry, so it's huge right now. And we have entrepreneurs and business owners that's on the show right now where they are in the process of pursuing a professional speaking career. When you speaking on other people's platforms and you deliver your phenomenal message, and then after that message, people go to the back to rush your product table, should people speak for free, or should they charge a public speaking fee starting out as a professional speaker?
It depends on what your goal is. So I think when you're starting out, experience is the best thing. So I would say you should speak all you possibly can for free, just to get experience to become a better speaker. But beyond that, once you're to the point where you feel like you're confident with that, you don't need to do like a Toastmasters thing. Then it just depends on what your goal is. If your goal is, if you have a product and you feel comfortable selling that product, and the venue that you're in will allow you to sell the product, then I don't think there's any way for anyone other than ex-presidents and big Fortune 500 CEOs to command the speaking fees that would equal the money you can make by selling things from the back of the room. So platform sales is, I have done platform sales, and it is amazing and fantastic, and you can sell $1 million product in an hour. So that's pretty fantastic, and you usually keep 50% of that, right?
That's right.
But there are that environment that you're doing that in, those stages are becoming fewer and farther between, and big companies that do that, like Success Resources and Peak Potentials, I think it's called, and Tigrant and Kiyosaki, and all those stages are not performing as well generally, according to all the folks that I know, and I have spoken on several of those stages as well. But it's a different market. It's typically, like, in those markets you're talking about, and internationally, by the way, they're doing great, but in the States anyway, they seem to be coming down a bit. But the challenge is that a lot of the folks who go to those kinds of things, at least the big promoters that I mentioned, are business opportunity seekers. So they're not people who are already in business. So if you are selling a product that is suitable to to a business opportunity seeker, then that's a great place to go and sell, and you probably won't be able to get paid as much per speaking engagement as you could if you were selling and charging nothing. So if that is your model and you've got a product that lends itself to being sold that way, and you feel comfortable selling from the stage that way, then that's fantastic. I tend these days to go way more towards speaking for relationship development and brand elevation. So I'm interested in building my brand personally for deal flow, and I'm interested in speaking to help other people who I know who are having events who are looking for speakers because I have a relationship, or I want to have a relationship with those people, and I find that to be the best thing for me right now. So I think both are good, and you just have to look at what's your objective in speaking. I think speaking is amazing. I think it's super fun, and it's really awesome to share your knowledge with people, and you can certainly make a lot of money selling from the stage. I think that's one of the fastest, easiest ways to make money, as long as you can get yourself on the stages, or you're good at getting audiences in the room. And if not, and you like I now, we have a big event called Traffic and Conversion Summit, and I speak at Traffic and Conversion Summit, and I don't have a rush to the back of the room, but I do have, because it's a large conference, I do have a booth that is for a mastermind that I sell called the War Room, and so I can sell $1 million or more of this mastermind at that one event in 3 days by speaking on the stage and delivering amazing content that serves my audience well. And then they see me in the booth, and they're interested in finding out more about it, and I talk about it, and it's just a very natural, it's not salesy at all. It's just, here's this fantastic content on the stage. Hey, I love that fantastic content on the stage. Can you tell me more about this mastermind? Yeah, this is where, 100 entrepreneurs and me and my partners get together, and we talk about that kind of stuff all the time, and we grow businesses. And they're like, well, can I join? And they're like, well, I don't know. You can apply to join, right? So for me, I like that way better than trying to do a pitch from the stage, because I think that if you're doing a pitch from the stage, you're not able to serve, and this is just my opinion, by the way, but you're not able to serve your audience as well, because you have a little bit of a conflict of interest in holding back great things, because you want them to want the great things that you're holding back by going back to the back and buying your product. And then you have to spend the last 10 to 15 minutes of your presentation not delivering great content, but actually selling and explaining the product that you want them to buy. Both are great. For me, I find I can actually sell more authentically and have happier people by doing a presentation from the stage, and then if there is the opportunity to offer through a booth or something like that, do it that way.
Now, you experienced phenomenal platform sales speaking on other people's stages. So when people do go to the back of the room after they hear your outside-the-box message, should entrepreneurs and business leaders just create a high-tier product, meaning they know in their audience? So should they just create a high-tier product so that way they won't give the audience to do any type of cafeteria selling?
I'm not sure I understand. So did you say a high-tier product?
Right. Should they just create a high-tier product versus a low-tier product so that way they won't give the audience to do any type of cafeteria selling?
And by cafeteria selling, what do you mean?
Now, when I went to events, basically you will get some speakers where they have a low-tier product, a mid-tier product, and a high-tier product. So depending on the audience, let's just say you have people in the audience where they're doing, 1 million to 20 million or above. Should they just create a high-tier product? That way that audience can just buy one product instead of doing any type of cafeteria selling where they have 3 products to choose from.
I see what you're saying. Sure. Yeah, again, I think it depends on your audience. I prefer, I prefer to simply have one single price.
Right.
And if our philosophy at Digital Marketer is really based around something that my partner Perry Belcher came up with called a tripwire offer, which means that to reverse the risk of someone becoming a customer, giving money that, pulling money out of their pocket, which they've worked hard to earn, and giving it to you and becoming an actual customer, that the best thing that you can do to get the most customers, to serve them the best, and to ultimately ascend them into higher products is to sell them something that's incredibly inexpensive and is going to reverse that risk. So for me personally, unless the promoter required me to sell a higher product, I have found that I make more money by selling a lower tier product, getting the people in as customers, showing them how wonderful the content is, and then ascending them to more advanced, higher priced products after that. And now, sometimes the promoter says, I want your product to be $1,000 or $2,000 or more. And that's, then that's going to dictate what you're going to sell, because they're really interested in monetizing their event through sales, and they're getting usually between 40 and 60% of what you're selling goes to them, right? So they might say, I don't want you to sell a $300 product. You need to sell a $2,000 product. And in that case, they kind of make that decision for you. So, but without that, absent that promoter-driven objective, I think it's generally better. And then they're a customer. Now you get to serve them and be awesome and give amazing content and give them what you promised them and then some, and that allows them to want to buy more. So that's generally how we approach it.
So once people like you, respect you, and trust you, that's when their minds are made up and they want to invest in you because you are your brand?
Correct. Absolutely.
Wow. Now, Roland, let's talk about entrepreneurs wanting to raise capital to expand their operations. When you are raising capital and you are basically taking investors' money to invest in your already existing vision and you want to expand that vision, should entrepreneurs and business owners, when they're raising capital, should they do what is called an accelerated payment plan, letting that investor know, when you invest with me, I have your best interest at heart, and the profits that I generate, I'm going to give you either 95% or the 100% profits back to you, because I want to formulate a relationship with you, and I want to make sure I have your best interest at heart, making sure that the money you invested in my business is going right back to you in regards to the capital that you invested in my business?
I think I feel like every answer I give you says it depends, and I'm sorry for that, because it does just always depend, right?
Right.
So could that be the best way to serve them? Definitely. It just depends on the deal. So if you want to talk about, different scenarios, I guess I'm always, even if I don't have to, I'm always concerned about giving back my investor their money to be sure that they've got their money back. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, let's say they're buying into an existing business and they're investing in that. It's not really fair to give them a preference because I'm telling them what the risks are. They look at all the opportunities that are available, and the risks, the opportunities, the threats, the strengths, the weaknesses of the business. And then they make a decision that they want to invest, and the return that they get is dictated by the performance of the business. So then, no, I'm not going to give them a preference. If it's investing in a new business, then I think it's more appropriate to do, a preference like that. What are your thoughts?
Well, I agree 100%. It's all about building great relationships, and it's just like with Shark Tank. A lot of people, they go on there wanting the money, but then, you have to do an value exchange where, they go on there saying, I want $1 million, but they only want to get 10%, equity in the company.
Yeah, so that's a valuation issue, right?
Right.
That's not really a pref or a return issue as far as security of capital, because when you're talking about giving a preference for return of capital,
mm-hmm.
you're talking about somebody that's concerned about their capital. So one of the things that you see the folks on Shark Tank do is they'll try to cut deals, some of them, where they get a royalty or a reverse royalty or something that gets them their principal back as quickly as possible. For me personally, I don't like to invest in anything that I'm not going to get my principal back within 12 months. And that means I pass on a lot of great deals, but I do that because once you have money, the most important thing is generally preservation of capital, right? So it's easy to make money, hard to hang on to it. So you don't want to lose it because you have to make twice as much because of taxes, right? You have to make twice as much as you lost to get back what you lost. So I think that's what those people are talking about. When you're talking about the deals on Shark Tank about valuation, then yeah, that is directly tied to risk. So you can compensate with risk by reducing the valuation, which means that you have more ownership of the company for a lower investment, and that's one way to compensate for risk. Another way is an accelerated recovery of the investment at whatever valuation. So it's just those are different ways of getting to the same place. But they're both very good things to think about. I don't usually look at deals.
So as an entrepreneur, you are the engine that drives commerce.
Yes.
Wow. Roland, I wrote down some powerful words, 5 being the highest and 1 being the lowest, so you can rate them in your own influential way. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Accountability.
Accountability, that is 5. 5 is the most important, is that what you said?
Yes.
Yes, 5.
Perseverance.
5.
Leverage.
5.
Implementation.
Implementation, I'll say 4, and I'll tell you why. It's because I think that you can hire that out. So it's really important. It's a 5 it's a 5 as far as getting it done. But if in my list of things that I'm looking at for myself, it's less important for me directly because I'm probably going to hire somebody to do that.
Health.
5.
Wealth.
3.
Building great relationships.
5.
Value.
4.
Family.
5.
All right, that was good. That was real good. Roland, can you explain to the listeners exactly where they can find you?
Sure. I'm on LinkedIn under Roland Frasier. I have lots of presentations that have lots of fun content that might be valuable to your folks on SlideShare, which is slideshare.com/Roland Frasier. And then I'm on Facebook as well, just under Roland Frasier. Roland Frasier page is my page where I share stuff. And then my website is RolandFrasierOnline.com.
Wow.
Also, I can tell you things that might be more valuable to your people than just looking at me and my beautiful, wonderful, amazing face. I'm being totally facetious. Is digitalmarketer.com, which is the company I own that teaches people digital marketing, and then warroommastermind.com, which is our mastermind of folks where we get together 4 times a year and talk about how can we improve each other's businesses.
Wow. Now, you talked about your phenomenal mastermind group, and I love being connected to like-minded individuals, because when you surround yourself around Deca or Hector millionaires, that elevates your game to the next level. Can you explain to the listeners how important it is for entrepreneurs and business leaders to formulate brainstorming groups?
Well, I think it's critical, because I think the biggest leaps come from relationships, and also from applying things that other people learn in different situations and different contexts to yours. So to me, it's the fastest way to grow your business and to grow your own skill set, is to hang out with other people who are at least as smart and hopefully smarter than you. And so our goal is to always create an environment in our mastermind where you're the dumbest person in the room. And so that means we're always trying to get more successful people and smarter people, and we bring in lots of people to that as well. So I think for anyone who's thinking about creating their own mastermind group, it's be very selective in who you allow into it, and definitely get together with other people who are smarter than you, or who are having more success, or at least different success, so that you can get together. And that goes all the way back to the Vagabonds, right? When it was Henry Ford and Thomas Edison, and I think it was Andrew Carnegie, getting together regularly with Roosevelt to meet and mastermind. So there's no greater thing than the power of many minds becoming one, and then taking what you get from that and implementing it in your business.
You are experiencing a life-changing, powerful interview, and you are hearing it first from Arthur Robinson Jr.'s PowerfulInterviews.com.
Roland, can you explain to the listeners, what do you like to do for fun?
Travel. I'm 147 countries and counting, and trying to add new ones all the time. I love seeing new places, new cultures, new adventures, and it's really fun because my wife gets to go with me to most of those places, and it's a wonderful thing to be able to do that. And when we can bring our kids along, I think that adventure, getting outside yourself, getting outside your comfort zone, looking at new cultures, new things, new places, new sights, new sounds, new tastes, it's just fantastic. That is my number one thing.
Well, our wives and our children, they are truly God's blessings, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Wow. Now, Frasier, when you speak, people definitely hone in on what you are saying, because you are a true master at what you love doing. Now, let's talk about mergers and acquisitions. Now, you've been involved with mergers and acquisitions for a long time. Can you reveal a case study where you did a phenomenal merger and acquisition where it generated revenue for you and your team?
Yeah, I mean, there are dozens and dozens of deals. That's pretty much every deal I do. So there's, just generally publishing company that was doing very well, looked like it had lots of opportunity for growth. And so I made a deal to invest in that. There was some money down. There was some no-interest financing of the amount that we agreed on for the purchase price, financed over time. And then I received a salary equal to what the other principals in the business were receiving to consult with the business, as well as my profit participation. And that's kind of like every deal I do.
Wow. Now, Roland, I love reading, and unfortunately for some people, reading is a lost art today. Can you explain to the listeners, what books do you like to read, and what books do you recommend for the listeners to read? I like to read books that will teach me something new. And so I always
read before I read a book that is recommended to me, or as I'm looking, I'll look at the business bestsellers on Amazon pretty regularly and see if there's anything that looks new and interesting, or that has hundreds and hundreds or thousands of positive reviews. And then no matter whether I think it would be